Narcissists don't pick on strong people, they pick on good people, and there's a damn big difference between the two. Let's get one thing straight right now. If you found yourself in the crosshairs of a narcissist, it's not because you're weak. It's not because you're broken or because you have some kind of victim sign taped to your back. It's because you have a good heart. It's because you're decent, you're kind, and you're empathetic. In the world of a narcissist, your goodness isn't a virtue, it's a vulnerability. It's a resource to be tapped, an oil well to be drilled until it runs dry. They see your kindness not as a gift to the world, but as a tool for their own selfish gain. Now, let's talk psychology for a minute, but I'm not going to throw a bunch of academic mumbo-jumbo at you. Here's the bottom line, people who have a high degree of empathy. People like you are wired to connect, you're wired to understand, to feel what others are feeling, and to help. You see someone in pain, and your first instinct is to reach out. A narcissist, on the other hand, is a black hole of need. They have a gaping void where their sense of self should be, and they are in a constant, desperate search for something to fill it. They need admiration, attention, and validation like you and I need oxygen. When a narcissist meets an empathetic person, it's like a predator spotting its perfect prey. They see you with your boundless capacity for compassion, and they think, jackpot. They know you'll listen to their endless monologues. They know you'll soothe their fragile ego. They know you'll make excuses for their bad behavior and give them second, third, and 50th chances. They don't see a person, they see a supply, a source of the emotional fuel they need to survive. And this is where we need to debunk a huge myth. For years, people have been told that to be strong, you have to be tough, guarded, and emotionally unavailable. What a load of garbage. That's not strength, that's building a fortress around your heart. Real strength is having the courage to be open, to be vulnerable, and to be kind in a world that can be cruel. The problem isn't your kindness. The problem is that you've been giving it to people who don't deserve it, people who see it as a weakness to be exploited. A narcissist is an expert at this. They can spot a giving person from a mile away. They test your boundaries little by little. They'll ask for a small favor, then a bigger one. They'll share a sob story to see if you'll jump in to rescue them. They're constantly probing, looking for the soft spots, the places where they can sink their hooks in. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. Have you ever been told you're too nice or too giving right before someone took advantage of you? I want you to pause and really let that sink in. What did that look like in your life? Was it a friend who always needed money but was never around when you needed support? A partner who called you sensitive or crazy when you tried to talk about your feelings? Drop a comment and tell me what that looked like in your life, because I guarantee you, you are not alone in this. This isn't about becoming mean or bitter. This is about becoming wise. There's a world of difference between setting a healthy boundary and being a jerk. A healthy boundary isn't a wall you build to keep people out. It's a gate you control. You get to decide who comes in and who stays out. Being mean is about hurting others. Setting a boundary is about protecting yourself. And with a narcissist, that protection is non-negotiable. This is why the traditional advice of just ignore them is a complete and utter failure. You can't just ignore a predator that has you in its sights. Ignoring a narcissist is like waving a red flag in front of a bull. They see your silence not as a lack of interest, but as a challenge. Their fragile ego can't handle being ignored, so they'll ramp up their efforts. They'll get louder, more demanding, more manipulative. They'll create drama and chaos just to pull you back into their orbit. So what's the answer? The answer is to stop being a victim and start being a strategist. This is where we change the game. Over the next 6 chapters, we're going to break down 6 powerful psychological strategies that will shut down a narcissist and put you back in the driver's seat of your own life. We're going to talk about becoming as boring as a gray rock, putting them on an information diet, building an emotional firewall, and more. These aren't just clever tricks or snappy comebacks. These strategies work because they are based on the very psychology the narcissist uses to manipulate you. They cut off the narcissist's supply at the source. When you stop providing the emotional reactions they crave, when you stop giving them the information they use as ammunition, when you stop letting them dictate your reality, their power over you evaporates. But none of this will work without one crucial element, a mindset shift. You have to move from being reactive to being proactive. For too long, you've been reacting to their drama, their demands, their crises. You've been on the defensive, constantly trying to manage their moods and avoid their rage. That ends today. From this moment on, you are the one in control. You are the one setting the terms. You are the one who decides what you will and will not accept in your life. This is the first step to taking your power back. All right, let's get down to business. Strategy number 1. Let me tell you something about gray rocks. They're boring as hell. And that's exactly why narcissists can't stand them. This is the first tool we're putting in your toolbox, and it's a game changer. It's called the gray rock method. And when you do it right, it makes you as uninteresting to a narcissist as a plain old rock on the side of the road. Now, a lot of people hear gray rock and think it just means giving someone the silent treatment. Wrong. That's not what this is. The silent treatment is a passive-aggressive weapon, and it's a game narcissists love to play themselves. Giving them silence is still giving them a reaction. It tells them they've gotten under your skin. Gray rock is different. It's not about being silent, it's about being boring. It's the art of making yourself the most uninteresting, unappealing, and unresponsive person in the room. Let's look at the science of it, because I'm not just pulling this stuff out of thin air. A narcissist's brain is wired for drama. They thrive on emotional reactions. Whether you're yelling at them, crying, defending yourself, or even showering them with praise, you're giving them what we call narcissistic supply. It's like a drug. Your emotional energy, good or bad, is what feeds their ego and validates their sense of importance. It confirms for them that they have an impact, that they can control you. When you give them a big emotional response, you're lighting up the reward centers in their brain. They feel powerful. They feel seen. The gray rock method is about cutting off that supply. It's about starving them of the emotional reaction they desperately need. When you offer nothing but dull, factual, and emotionless responses, their brain doesn't get that hit. There's no drama, no excitement, no validation. To them, it's like trying to have a conversation with a rock. And what do you do when you're talking to a rock? You get bored and you walk away to find someone or something more interesting. So how do you do this without becoming a doormat? This isn't about letting them walk all over you. It's about strategic disengagement. You're not ignoring them, you're just not participating in their drama. You give short, factual answers. You don't explain, you don't defend, you don't justify, and you sure as hell don't argue. Let's run through some scenarios. Let's say the narcissist in your life tries to pick a fight with a provocative statement like, "You always ruin everything. We were having a perfectly fine evening until you got here." The old you might have said, "What are you talking about? I just walked in. You're the one who's been in a bad mood all day." And boom, they've got you. You're hooked. The gray rock you says in a calm, flat tone, "Yes, I arrived at 7:15. They'll try again." "Are you even listening to me? I said you ruined the night." You respond, no emotion, no argument, just facts. You become a black hole for their provocations. They throw their drama at you and it just disappears. This is the art of selective engagement. You respond only to what is absolutely necessary. If they ask a direct question that requires a simple answer, you give it. "Did you take out the trash?" "Yes." "Where are the car keys?" "On the hook." Anything that is an invitation to drama, an insult, a criticism, or a sob story gets ignored or gets a non-committal, boring response like, "I see," or "huh," or simply a nod. Your body language has to match. Don't make intense eye contact. Don't cross your arms in a defensive posture. Just be neutral. Look slightly past them. Your whole being should scream, "I am not playing this game." Now, people make mistakes with this all the time. The biggest one is being inconsistent. You can't be a gray rock on Monday and then get sucked into a screaming match on Tuesday. A narcissist will test you. They'll push your buttons harder and harder to see if they can get that old reaction out of you. If you give in, you've just taught them that they need to escalate to a level 10 to get their supply. You have to be consistent. You have to be a rock all the time. Another mistake is being too obvious. Don't announce, "I'm using the gray rock method on you." That just gives them new information to use against you. So this is a quiet strategy. It's about your behavior, not your words. Sometimes gray rock can backfire, especially at first. When the narcissist realizes their usual tactics aren't working, they might escalate. This is called an extinction burst. Think of a kid who pushes the button on a vending machine. If the candy doesn't come out, they don't just walk away. They push the button again, harder and faster. They might even kick the machine. The narcissist will do the same. They might get angrier, more insulting, or even try to bait you with kindness, a tactic called hoovering. This is the critical moment. You have to hold the line. This is when you must be the most boring, uninteresting rock you can possibly be. If you feel unsafe, you need to have an exit plan. Your safety is always priority number one. Let's talk about the real world. At work with a narcissistic boss who takes credit for your ideas, you document everything. You respond to their provocations with bland, professional emails. "Thank you for your feedback. I will take it under consideration." With a family member at a holiday dinner who tries to bait you into an argument, you give one-word answers and then turn your attention to someone else. "How's the turkey, Aunt Carol?" In a romantic relationship or a co-parenting situation, this is your key to survival. You communicate only about logistics and only through text or email if you have to. Keep it factual, keep it brief, keep it boring. When you do this consistently, something powerful happens. The narcissist gets frustrated, they get bored. You are no longer a reliable source of their drug. The psychological impact on them is profound. It forces them to confront the emptiness they're trying so hard to avoid. They will eventually go elsewhere to find their supply, to find someone who will play their games. It might take a week, it might take a month, but if you cut off their supply, they will move on. It's not a matter of if, but when. You have to be prepared for the fact that they will likely start a smear campaign against you, telling everyone how cold and unfeeling you've become. Let them. The people who matter will see the truth. You're not being cold, you're being strategic. You're taking your power back. All right, let's move on to strategy number 2, and I need you to listen up because this one is critical. You know what a narcissist's favorite weapon is. It ain't their charm, it ain't their rage, it's your own information turned against you. Every secret you share, every vulnerability you expose, every dream you confess becomes a bullet in their chamber, ready to be fired back at you when you least expect it. I want you to start thinking about your personal information, your thoughts, your feelings, your history as currency. It's valuable. And for too long, you've been giving it away for free to someone who puts it in their arsenal. A narcissist is an emotional data miner. They listen intently, not because they care about you, but because they are gathering intelligence. They are building a file on you, pinpointing your weaknesses, mapping out your emotional triggers, and identifying what you hold most dear. Why? Because information is power. It's leverage. It's ammunition. When you tell them you're insecure about your public speaking skills, you're not just sharing a fear, you're handing them a tool to belittle you with right before a big presentation. When you confess that your deepest desire is to start your own business, you're giving them the blueprint to mock your ambition and sabotage your confidence. When you tell them about a painful memory from your childhood, you're giving them a tender spot to poke when they want to hurt you and make you feel small. They will take your most sacred truths and twist them into weapons of psychological warfare. They will use your hopes to make you feel foolish and your fears to keep you paralyzed. This is why you have to put them on a strict information diet. You have to starve the manipulation machine. This means you stop volunteering personal information. You stop over-explaining. You stop treating them like a safe, confident ape because they are not. They are a spy in your camp. One of the biggest traps they set is what I call the JD trap. Do not justify, argue, defend, or explain. Write that down. Tattoo it on your brain. The moment you start doing any of those four things, you've lost. A narcissist loves to put you in a position where you feel like you have to defend your reality. They'll say something like, "You're always so emotional." If you justify, you've given them more information and confirmed their premise. If you argue, you've given them the fight they wanted. If you defend, you're still playing their game, trying to win their approval. If you explain, you're handing them a detailed report on how to push your buttons more effectively next time. The way out of the jade trap is to refuse to play. You give them nothing. You go gray rock. You're so emotional. Your response, "I see," or "okay," or "nothing at all." You don't take the bait. Now, you might be thinking, "Dr. Phil, how do I do this without coming across as rude or creating a huge conflict, especially in a social setting?" That's a fair question. This is where you need some practical scripts. One of my favorite techniques for social situations is what's called the bean dip technique. Let's say you're at a party and the narcissist corners you and asks a prying question in front of others, like, "So are you and your husband ever going to have kids?" Or, it's designed to make you uncomfortable. Instead of answering, you deflect and redirect. You turn to the person next to you and say with enthusiasm, "Oh my God, have you tried this bean dip? It is amazing! You have to tell me how you made this, Carol!" You completely change the subject to something neutral and boring, and you pull other people into the new conversation. It's smooth, it's effective, and it leaves the narcissist standing there with their invasive question hanging in the air. You need to recognize their information gathering tactics, which are often disguised as concern. They'll say things like, "You seem down lately. You can talk to me. I'm worried about you." It feels like they're being supportive, but it's a trap. It's an interrogation masquerading as empathy. Your best defense is a vague, non-committal response. "Thanks for your concern, I'm fine." Or, "Just a little tired, that's all." You acknowledge their comment without giving them any real data. This diet has to extend to your digital life too. Your social media is a goldmine of information for a narcissist. Lock it down. Make your profiles private. Stop posting your every thought and feeling. Every vague, emotional post is an invitation for them to swoop in, either publicly with fake concern or privately to get more details. Be mindful of texts and emails. Before you hit send, ask yourself, how would this look if it were read aloud in a court of law or twisted and forwarded to my boss? If it contains emotional, vulnerable information, delete it. Stick to logistics. And listen to me on this one, you have to put your flying monkeys on an information diet too. Flying monkeys are the people the narcissist uses, consciously or not, to do their bidding and gather information. It might be your well-meaning mother who just wants everyone to get along, or a mutual friend who doesn't see the narcissist's dark side. When they call and say, "I just talked to so-and so, they're really worried about you," you have to recognize that for what it is, an intelligence-gathering mission. You have to set a firm boundary. "Mom, I appreciate your concern, but my relationship with so-and-so is private, and I'm not going to discuss it with you." It's tough, but it's necessary to cut off their supply lines. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. It's too late. I've already told them everything. Look, you can't change the past, but you can control the present and the future. The damage control starts now. First, you stop giving them new information. You turn off the tap, effective immediately. Second, you start taking back your narrative. When they try to use old information against you, you don't engage. You don't defend the old you simply state that's in the past and you move on. You show them through your actions that the person they have a file on no longer exists. You are no longer that person who will crumble when they push that button. Starving the manipulation machine is one of the most powerful things you can do. It takes away their favorite weapon. It leaves them with nothing to work with. It forces them to deal with their own emptiness instead of using your life as a distraction. It's not about being secretive or paranoid. It's about being strategic. It's about recognizing the value of your inner world and finally treating it with the security and respect it deserves. All right? Here's what nobody tells you about dealing with narcissists. They don't just attack your reputation or your relationships. They go straight for your emotional core, and most people don't even realize it's happening until they're so tangled up they can't find their way out. This isn't just random meanness or a bad temper. Emotional manipulation is a systematic, calculated assault on your reality. Its goal is to dismantle your sense of self, to make you doubt your own perceptions, your own sanity, until you become completely dependent on their version of the world. This is why we have to build what I call an emotional firewall. Think about the firewall on your computer. It stands guard 24/7, inspecting the data coming in, and it blocks anything malicious that's trying to infect your system. That's exactly what you need to build for your mind and your heart. It's a psychological barrier, a conscious defense system that you put in place to protect your inner world from the toxic garbage the narcissist is trying to pump into it. To build this firewall, you first have to understand the difference between empathy and emotional enmeshment. And listen to me, because this is the very thing that gets good-hearted people into trouble. Empathy is your ability to understand and share the feelings of another. It's saying, I see you're in pain and I'm here for you. It's a beautiful human quality. Emotional enmeshment, on the other hand, is when you absorb their feelings and make them your responsibility. It's feeling their anxiety and thinking it's your job to calm them down. It's seeing their rage and believing it's your fault for provoking it. Narcissists don't want your empathy, they want your enmeshment. They want you to be so fused with their emotional state that you lose track of where they end and you begin. They want you to carry their baggage. Your firewall's first job is to stop this. It's to allow you to have empathy from a safe distance, to say, I see you are angry, sad, anxious, without letting that emotion breach your defenses and become your own. Now, how do they get past your defenses? They look for your emotional triggers. A narcissist is a master at finding your insecurities, your past wounds, your deepest fears. They'll test you, probe you, and file away every piece of data. Then, when they want to control you, they push that button. They know exactly what to say to make you feel guilty, ashamed, or afraid. Recognizing your own triggers is like getting the enemy's battle plan. You have to sit down and get brutally honest with yourself. What are you most sensitive about? Is it a fear of abandonment, a feeling of not being good enough, a need to be seen as a good person? Whatever it is, that's where they will aim. Once you know your triggers, you can see their attacks coming and your firewall can be ready. This brings us to the core practice, developing emotional detachment. Now, don't get spooked by that word. Detachment doesn't mean you become a cold, unfeeling robot. It's not about stopping your feelings. It's about stopping your reactions. It's a conscious decision to not let someone else's behavior dictate your emotional state. It's the ultimate act of taking your power back. One of the most powerful techniques for doing this is what I call the observer self. The next time you're in a tense interaction with a narcissist, I want you to try this. Mentally take one step back. Imagine you're floating up to the ceiling and you're watching the scene unfold below you like a movie. You see the narcissist. You see yourself. You hear the words being said. But you're not in it anymore. You're observing it. This simple shift in perspective creates a buffer. It gives you a split second to choose your response instead of just reacting on instinct. From this observer position, you can see their tactics for what they are, a desperate attempt to get a reaction. And you can choose not to give it to them. I know some of you are struggling with this because you think being detached means you're being a bad person, that it violates your values of being kind and compassionate. Let me be clear, protecting your emotional well-being is not a violation of your values. It is a prerequisite for living them. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You can be the kindest, most compassionate person in the world and still refuse to be a dumping ground for someone else's toxicity. Your kindness is a gift, and you get to decide who is worthy of receiving it. This is especially true when dealing with guilt manipulation and emotional blackmail, which are the narcissist's favorite tools. They'll say things like, if you really loved me, you would, or after everything I've done for you, This is how you treat me. This is designed to trigger your sense of obligation and guilt. Your firewall's response is to reject the premise. You are not responsible for their happiness. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. You can say calmly and firmly, "I'm sorry you feel that way," which acknowledges their feeling without accepting blame for it. With family members, this becomes the art of compassionate detachment. You can love your mother, your father, your sibling, but you do not have to love their toxic behavior. You can have compassion for the pain that might be driving their actions while simultaneously refusing to participate in the drama. It means setting boundaries like, "Mom, I love you, but if you start criticizing my spouse, I will have to end this phone call." You're being compassionate to yourself first, which is the only way you can have a healthy relationship with anyone. So what do you do when you feel yourself getting hijacked? When you feel that anger or guilt rising in your chest, you need a reset protocol. The first step is to create space. That can be physical space. I need to use the restroom, or I'm going to step outside for some fresh air. Or it can be verbal space. I need a minute to think about that. In that space, you breathe deeply. It calms your nervous system. You ground yourself. Feel your feet on the floor. Name 5 things you can see in the room. This pulls you out of the emotional storm and back into the present reality. And after the encounter is over, you need a recovery protocol. You have to consciously cleanse yourself of the toxic residue. That might mean calling a trusted friend from your support system, and you absolutely need a support system of people who get it. It might mean journaling to get all the poison out on paper. It could be going for a run, listening to loud music, or watching a funny movie. You have to do something to intentionally shift your energy and remind yourself of who you are outside of their toxic influence. Building your emotional firewall is not a one-time fix. It's a daily practice of vigilance, self-awareness, and a radical commitment to protecting your own peace. All right, let's get to the heart of it. Strategy number 4. Most people think boundaries are about what you won't let others do to you. Wrong. Dead wrong. Real boundaries, the kind that actually work with a narcissist, are not about controlling them. They are about what you will do when someone crosses the line. That's the fundamental misunderstanding that leaves so many people feeling helpless and frustrated. You've been drawing lines in the sand, and the narcissist has been kicking sand in your face your whole life. Here's why your past attempts at setting boundaries have failed so spectacularly. When you say to a narcissist, "You can't talk to me like that," you're not setting a boundary, you're issuing a challenge. You're telling them what they can't do, and their entire personality is built on the belief that they can do whatever the hell they want. They see your rule as a game. Their goal isn't to respect your limit, it's to see how spectacularly they can smash through it. They feed on the drama of you trying to enforce an unenforceable rule. So we're going to change the entire framework. We're moving from rules to consequences. A rule is about them. A consequence is about you. A rule says, "Don't yell at me." A consequence says, "If you choose to raise your voice, I will choose to leave the room." See the difference? The power shifts entirely. You're no longer trying to manage their behavior. You are only managing your own. And here's the key: you do this without negotiating or explaining. The power of a boundary is in its implementation, not its declaration. You don't need to give a big speech. You don't need to get their agreement. You don't need them to understand or validate your feelings. You just act. The first time your narcissistic co-worker starts belittling you in a meeting, you don't argue back. You simply stand up and say, "I have to prepare for my next call." And you walk out. The first time your mother starts her guilt trip monologue on the phone, you don't defend yourself. You say, "I have to go now, Mom. I'll talk to you tomorrow," and you hang up. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. You need what I call a graduated response system. You need to escalate the consequences based on the severity and frequency of the boundary violation. Let's say you're co-parenting with a narcissist who consistently shows up late for pickups, throwing your whole schedule into chaos. Level 1 consequence. The first time it happens, you state the boundary and the consequence clearly and calmly via text. The pickup time is 6 p.m. If you are more than 15 minutes late again, I will have to arrange for a paid sitter, and you will be responsible for the cost. You're not asking, you're informing. Level 2 consequence. The next time they're late, you don't argue. You don't send angry texts. You simply hire the sitter, pay them, and send the narcissist an invoice. You implement the consequence. Level 3 consequence. If they refuse to pay and the behavior continues, you escalate. The consequence might be that all future exchanges must happen at a police station or a supervised visitation center. You might have to involve lawyers. The point is, your actions get bigger and more serious as their disrespect continues. The psychology behind this is simple. Narcissists are motivated by self-interest. They will continue a behavior as long as it benefits them and doesn't cost them anything. When you start making their bad behavior inconvenient, expensive, and difficult for them, they are far more likely to change. Words don't work, consistent consequences do. You have to apply this to every area of your life. Financial boundaries. Stop lending them money. Stop co-signing loans. Separate your bank accounts. When they ask for money, the answer is a simple, "I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that." No explanation needed. Communication boundaries. You get to decide when and how you communicate. Maybe you only respond to texts between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Maybe you block them on social media. Maybe you decide that all important conversations must happen via email, so there's a written record. You are the gatekeeper of your own time and energy. Legal boundaries. Sometimes the consequences have to be legal. This means documenting everything. Save every abusive text and email. Keep a log of every missed visitation and every threat. This isn't about being petty, it's about building a case to protect yourself. When their behavior crosses a legal line into harassment or threats, you don't warn them you're going to the police, you just go. You also have to be prepared for them to violate your boundaries by proxy. They will send their flying monkeys, friends or family members, to deliver their messages, to plead their case, or to make you feel guilty. The boundary has to extend to them. I'm not going to discuss this with you. This is between me and him. You have to be willing to put those relationships on the line to protect your peace. And that brings us to the ultimate consequence: no contact. Sometimes you have to recognize that the only way to win the game is to refuse to play. Going no contact is the final and most powerful boundary you can set. It is a declaration that you will no longer tolerate their abuse in any form. It's not something you do in a fit of anger. It's a calm, calculated decision you make when you've realized that no amount of boundary setting will ever lead to a safe or respectful relationship. It means blocking their number, their email, their social media, and telling your friends and family that you will not be a party to any communication with them. It is the ultimate act of choosing yourself. It's you finally saying, "My peace is more important than your presence." And that, right there, is the beginning of your freedom. You want to know the one thing that makes a narcissist back down faster than anything else? It ain't aggression. It ain't pleading. It's unshakable confidence in your own reality. Confidence is like garlic to a vampire for these people. They can't stand it. It repels them on a primal level because it short-circuits their entire operating system. Let's be clear about what we're dealing with. A narcissist is a predator, and like any predator, they don't go looking for the strongest animal in the herd. They go looking for the one that looks weak, the one that's isolated, the one that's limping. In the human world, that limp is self-doubt. They have a sixth sense for it. They can smell your insecurity from a mile away. Every time you second-guess yourself, every time you apologize for existing, every time you look to them for validation, you are signaling to them that you are a viable target. Your self-doubt is the crack in your armor they will exploit without hesitation. Now, we need to draw a big, bright line between the narcissist's arrogance and the genuine confidence we're talking about here. They are not the same thing. Arrogance, the kind the narcissist displays, is a loud, brittle, fragile performance. It's a mask they wear to hide the terrified, empty person underneath. It needs constant applause and attention to stay in place. Genuine confidence, on the other hand, is quiet. It's an internal state of being. It's a calm, Steady certainty in your own worth, your own perceptions, and your own decisions. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need to be loud. It just is. And that quiet certainty is what drives a narcissist absolutely insane. So how do we project this confidence even when we're not feeling it 100% on the inside? We start from the outside in. Your body language is your first line of defense. Stop making yourself small. Stand up straight, pull your shoulders back, hold your head high. When you're talking to them, make direct, steady eye contact. Don't fidget. Don't look at the floor. Plant your feet firmly. Your body needs to send the message, I am not your victim. I am not intimidated. I occupy my space without apology. Next is your voice. Stop talking like you're asking a question. Speak in calm, measured tones. Lower the pitch of your voice slightly. Eliminate the pleading, high-pitched notes that signal desperation. Your words need to command respect. Use declarative statements. Instead of, well, I kind of feel like maybe that's not fair, you say, that is unfair. Instead of, I'm sorry, but could I maybe say something? You say, I disagree. Your words should be statements of fact, not invitations for debate. This is critical when you have to disagree with them. You don't escalate it into a conflict. You simply state your reality as a fact. Let's say they claim, you never support me. The old you would have launched into a defense, listing all the times you supported them. The confident you says, calmly and without emotional investment, that is not my experience. Full stop. You don't argue. You don't provide evidence. You just state your truth. You're not trying to convince them. You're just putting your version of reality on the table. This is your number one weapon against gaslighting. Gaslighting only works if you doubt your own sanity. When they try to twist reality and tell you, that never happened, or you're crazy, you're remembering it wrong, your confident response is a calm, we remember that differently. Or, I am certain of what I saw. You are a brick wall of certainty. They can't manipulate a reality that you refuse to question. When they criticize you or attack you, you have to learn to see it for what it is. It is data about them, not a truth about you. Their attacks are a reflection of their own inner turmoil. When you truly get this, you stop being defensive. You don't have to protect yourself from a lie. You can respond with a detached, I see, or thank you for sharing your perspective. It completely disarms them. They're expecting you to crumble or fight back, and when you do neither, their power fizzles out. Now, I know that after years of narcissistic abuse, your self-trust is probably shot. Rebuilding it is an inside job, and it's your most important work. You do this by creating what I call a confidence bank account. Every single day, you have to make small deposits. A deposit is any action that proves to you that you are capable and trustworthy. Keep a promise to yourself. Set a small goal and achieve it. Go for that walk you said you would. Finish that project. Every time you do what you say you're going to do, you make a deposit. You also need practical exercises. Start a journal, and at the end of every day, write down 3 things you did well. They don't have to be huge. I handled that difficult phone call without getting emotional. I cooked a healthy dinner. I didn't respond to that baiting text. You are training your brain to look for evidence of your own competence. Here's the psychology of why this works. Narcissists respect strength, and they exploit what they perceive as weakness. They mistake kindness for weakness. But they can't mistake unshakable confidence for anything other than strength. It's a language they understand. When you project this calm certainty, you are signaling that you are not easy prey. You are more trouble than you are worth, and like any predator, they will move on to find an easier target. But what happens when your confidence wavers? In a high-pressure moment, what's your emergency protocol? First, you need an exit strategy. Have a pre-planned excuse to leave the room. Excuse me, I need to make a phone call. I need to use the restroom. Create space. In that space, you ground yourself. Go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and make eye contact with yourself. Stand in a power pose. Hands on your hips, shoulders back for 60 seconds. It literally changes your body chemistry. Remind yourself of 3 facts. I am safe. I am an adult. I can handle this. You interrupt the emotional spiral and re-engage your rational brain. Projecting confidence is not about faking it. It's about practicing it until it becomes your new reality. It is the ultimate repellent, the shield that makes you invisible to the predators of the world. We've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about becoming a gray rock, putting them on an information diet, building your firewalls, setting consequences, and projecting confidence. But now we have to talk about the final strategy. And I'm going to be straight with you. This is the hardest one. Here's the hardest truth I'm going to give you today. Sometimes the only way to win with a narcissist is not to play the game at all. And that means you got to be willing to walk away from anyone who can't respect your humanity. You can have the best strategies in the world, but if you're dealing with a malignant narcissist, or if the abuse is escalating, or if you simply realize that your life has become a full-time job of managing a toxic personality, then these strategies are no longer enough. They become life support, not a cure. The only cure is removal. You have to recognize when the emotional, psychological, and sometimes physical cost of staying is just too damn high. The goal isn't just to survive them, it's to thrive without them. Now, walking away can look different for different people. Sometimes it's taking temporary distance to get your head on straight, but more often than not, with a true narcissist, it has to be permanent no contact. No contact is not a punishment, it is a profound act of self-preservation. It's you finally declaring that you are no longer available for abuse. But you don't just wake up one day and walk out the door. That can be dangerous. You have to plan your exit like a military operation. First, the financials. You need to start secretly stashing away money. Open a separate bank account in your name at a different bank. Get copies of all your important financial documents. Know what you own, what you owe, and what you're entitled to. Second, the logistics. Where will you go? Who will you stay with? What essential items do you need to take with you? You need to have a bag packed and ready. Third, and most important, the emotional preparation. This is where you build your support network before you need it. You identify the one or two friends or family members who you know you can trust, who won't be swayed by the narcissist's lies. You tell them, I'm making a plan to leave, and I'm going to need your help. I know it's complicated. What if you have kids together? What if you work together? In these cases, a clean no-contact break might be impossible. This is where you go low contact. All communication is stripped down to the bare essentials, preferably in writing through a co-parenting app or email. You interact only when absolutely necessary, and you treat every interaction like a business transaction, polite, brief, and impersonal. Now, let's talk about why leaving feels so damn impossible. Your brain is working against you. First, you're dealing with something called a trauma bond. It's a powerful, toxic attachment that forms out of a cycle of abuse followed by intermittent reinforcement, a few crumbs of kindness here and there. It creates a chemical bond in your brain that can feel like love, but is actually an addiction to the cycle of drama. Second is the sunk cost fallacy. You've invested so much time, energy, and emotion into this person that the idea of walking away feels like you're admitting defeat, like all that effort was for nothing. You have to recognize these for what they are, tricks of the mind designed to keep you trapped. If there is any risk of physical violence, you must have a safety plan. This is non-negotiable. You need to know who to call, where to go, and have a code word with your support system. You need to document everything. Keep a journal of abusive incidents. Save every threatening text or email. This isn't just for you, it's for the restraining order you might need later. This is your evidence, your protection. Once you're out, the work isn't over. You have to be prepared for the grief. You will grieve. You'll grieve the person you thought they were, the future you thought you'd have, and the parts of yourself you lost along the way. Let yourself feel it. It's the only way to get to the other side, and you have to be prepared for the hoovering. A narcissist can't stand losing their supply. They will try to suck you back in. They'll call, they'll text, they'll send flowers. They'll apologize, promise they've changed, and tell you everything you ever wanted to hear. It's a lie. It's a tactic. The moment you're back in their clutches, the abuse will start again, often worse than before. This is when your no-contact rule is your lifeline. you must be ruthless in blocking them from every possible avenue of your life. Rebuilding your life after narcissistic abuse is a process of rediscovery. It's about finding your own voice again. It's about learning to trust your own judgment. It's about remembering what you enjoy, what makes you laugh, what you're passionate about. It's about slowly, carefully rebuilding your identity not as someone's victim, but as the hero of your own damn story. Walking away is the end of their chapter in your life, but it's the beginning of yours.